knows more about trending and what's going on in the space that Joshua does. So a huge wealth of information and co-host today. Josh, glad to have you here, sir.
Thanks, Tim. You're too kind. But yeah, you can find me as mint_Josh on Twitter, and a longtime Kin supporter and a lover of the team. So.
Well, I appreciate you being here and helping me out on this event. So let's get moving. We have a special guest today. William Mougayar is a Toronto-based blockchain investor, researcher, blogger, a best-selling author of The Business Blockchain that's been translated in 10 languages or more. And we all know him and love him as our executive chairman of the Kin Foundation. William, welcome to our AMA. Welcome to the Kin Channel event.
Thanks, Tim and Josh. Very happy to be here with everybody.
Tim, can we just hop right into it?
I think so, yeah, absolutely. I've been explaining to everybody as they've been joining how the questions are working. Just go ahead and ask your question inside the chat. We're going to hand the floor to William to give us a little background on the Kin Foundation and his relationship with the Kin Foundation before we get into a whole lot of questions. So, Josh, I'll let you kick us off.
Yeah, so really quickly, I'm just going to ask William, give him the first 10 minutes, just kind of get everything out he wants to talk about, and then we'll get into the community questions. But first one is just before Kin, how you got involved with Ted and the team at Kin?
Sure. So being both in Toronto and involved in the startup ecosystem, obviously Ted has been and still is a very known entrepreneur in this area. And I used to go a lot to Waterloo, where a lot of the activity is. My own startup back in the day was in Toronto, but there was lots of synergy between Toronto and Waterloo, so we'd always go there and have events back and forth. And that's how I initially got to meet Ted. And we had a common friend and business acquaintance who was Fred Wilson. Obviously, Fred's company had invested in Kick. And I was fairly close to Ted, to Fred at the time, and still am. I got to know him a little bit, not as well as later in the later years when he became more involved in creating Kin specifically. But I recall even before 2017, as I was involved in the blockchain space around 2013-14, I had a couple of meetings with Ted, and it was around like, have you been thinking about crypto? And we're talking about 2015 or 16. And the answer was, yeah, they had been thinking about it, but it was just about the timing element. And then gradually I got to know them more and more. One of the clincher event, I think, was that at the time in 17, I created and I ran the first conference that was focused on tokens, the Token Summit, and we had our first event in New York in May of 2017. And that coincided with the timing for Kick wanting to introduce Kin, basically, and they agreed to come in to my Token Summit and introduce Kin. Actually, before we announced this, they were that segment was labeled as the mystery chat that I was going to have with a mystery person. That date was not known until the morning of that day, and then we basically unveiled that to the world at the Token Summit, and then I became more and more involved with the project since then.
That's a good history, because actually I don't think a lot of people, even OGs, even knew that story, so thank you for sharing. The next big question is here is you dropped on us all this roadmap update, which we appreciate. Thank you for keeping us all in the loop. But just really quickly, what are like the top 1 or 2 things on this roadmap that you think are really exciting that people should like really dig deep into?
Yeah, so the roadmap had been, this post was something I had in draft in a month and wanting to get it out. And I tried to wrap a lot of what we have been doing, especially that we have a full team now of many very talented people, each focused on some one aspect or the other. I think fundamentally, there's nothing much that has changed. Hopefully there were no surprises in that roadmap. I mean, our value proposition is the same. It's to enable innovative user experiences that are based on cryptocurrency. The 1 or 2 things that we are punching up is the fact that we want to be the easiest and the fastest way for developers to build these experiences. So that wasn't maybe part of the vocabulary before. We usually say that we have SDKs, but we want to make sure that these SDKs are easy with, and then we want to make sure that the experience, the developer experience, once they start to get involved with us, once they land on the web and they start to interact with the documents that we have, with the tutorials, with the knowledge repositories, all of that should be very seamless. They should be able to go from one place to another and then find their way. And obviously we want to be responsive, but we will be increasing the amount of support online that developers get as soon as they start to interact with the KIN technology. So the main thing, I mean, nothing has changed. We want more apps on KIN. That's fundamentally the same as what it was when it was created 4 years ago. So we were just making it easier and hopefully more pleasant.
Yeah, there's 2 things on this roadmap that I saw this time around that I hadn't seen before. Is the data intelligence side, I think, is extremely important, and also the on-chain voting is pretty novel that we haven't seen yet. I think data intelligence, for those who don't know, I think a lot of value in these ecosystems are derived from understanding, an app able to forecast their future earnings, I think is a huge win, as well as within Solana's ecosystem, how much of Solana's activity and market cap may be, and you don't have to comment directly on that, but how much is that attributed to KIN itself? So can you maybe comment on the data intelligence and the on-chain voting stuff?
Yeah, these were 2 new ideas that we came up with. The data intelligence, one is if you remember, we used to have a fairly good KIN Explorer before we went to Solana, and it had some good statistics. You go there and see how many transactions the last second, the last minute, how many apps were there, and basically you could go to one page and see the health of the ecosystem at a glance. We lost some of that when we went to Solana for a variety of reasons. One of them being that we have such a high number of wallets or accounts that none of the existing Solana explorers were able to fetch the KIN activity because there was some limit to the pagination, though I understand it. There were some RPC limits, and that was a bit vexing to us. That not even Solana Beach or SolScan had an accurate view of what KIN was doing in the ecosystem. So what we did last week, 2 weeks ago, we kicked off a new project to come up with these new metrics we want to put together on one page. And we're going to solve this issue, the account pinging issue. And we're going to solve it our own way, and Bram and others have have been working on doing that. So we came up with, I think, 25 different metrics. We put on a spreadsheet. We're going to prioritize them a little bit, and we just started to embark on a way to put all of that onto one page. And imagine that if you wanted to say, like, how is the kin ecosystem doing? Imagine if you could go to one page and see everything there. A bit of kin explorer type data, a bit of KRE data, a bit of statistics about what the apps are doing, transactions per day, transactions per second, active use balances, monthly active users. All of that should be available in one place. And I think that's something that very few, if not just a handful, of projects in the blockchain space can really do that. I mean, obviously, Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's no shortage of stats and dashboards and explorers because these are the two big projects. But when you look at the other ones, very, very quickly it starts to thin out. And like recently, I put out a challenge on Twitter. I wanted to know how many transactions does Solana really do per day? We don't know. Nobody was able to come back with that number. Yeah, they do track the transactions logs one by. I'd like to know how many is that in total if you take out consensus transactions, because Solana counts them as transactions. But that's fine. We'll come back to that. But that's the day one. Chain, as you asked, it's one that's near and dear to my heart. We've been talking about it for 6 months. Imagine the models of a trust wallet. I mean, I'd like to be able to ask questions to the community and have answers, but have answers from those that are really committed, from those that have a kin wallet, from those that have skin in the game. I don't want bots to come and pollute the answers. We're not going to move money or move funds based on the voting. It's not a DAO voting that we're talking about. And maybe in the future it can get there, but I think we need to take baby steps in the voting aspect. I want real credible votes, and imagine that we can white label the developers' wallets, for example. And suppose we want to ask something to the developers that are in the KRE. So we white label their wallets, and they get to participate in a particular questioning or polls or things that are on our mind, and they can vote independently from others. So that's what I want to do eventually with this voting app.
One last question before we get into the community questions. We want to rally the troops here and get the advocates activated. So we've mentioned a number of things, the Catalyst Fund, obviously attracting developers, both, people building the kin infrastructure, but people building kin apps. Can you just give maybe the pitch here to rally everyone? Should people be DMing, consumer apps saying, hey, I want you to integrate this. I'm a user, I'm a customer, I want you to integrate kin? Or should they be in Google, reviews, going to apps on pages and saying, hey, we want to have you in the kin ecosystem? Like, what do you think, people should be doing, both developing kin infrastructure, but to attract consumer apps?
Yes, I think we're very lucky to have a very passionate and very active and very committed user community. I mean, we use community, but I like to use the word advocates. I mean, right now, advocate marketing is a new form of marketing that's very powerful. It's basically where you turn your most enthusiastic users, customers, believers into being brand advocates, and meaning that they talk about their experiences with kin, they encourage others to try kin. It could be doing all of the above that you mentioned, Josh. It could be telling apps that they know that they should look at kin. It's like word of mouth, but amplified even more. And it's not just about shouting. I mean, there is enough shouting out there on Twitter, and I think it's not about talking about the price of the token. That's not really. I think the main thing is to get more developers, to get more users, to get on using Kin and to integrate Kin in the different experiences, and the rest will take care of itself.
I agree. There's an interesting element we're seeing in NFTs right now, where obviously Budweiser yesterday changed their profile picture to a NFT. You have Stella Artois doing Zed-Run NFTs. There, a bunch of Visa just announced 2 days ago. So my view of the corporate world or the large players and apps is that, hey, this thing is happening. There's a cohort of consumers that want these experiences, that these experiences are in demand, and now is a great time to kind of advocate as a community and rally developers and try and get them to adopt this, because at the end of the day, you as consumers have the power to these developers. You're the ones that say, hey, I want this experience, and developers are the ones trying to figure out what do consumers want. So I think we can. Tim, any final thoughts, William, before we get into community questions?
No, I think back to the advocates and what they can do, and maybe we'll get into that a bit later. There are lots of those advocates that have been with Kin for a long time, so they have insights. So we want to see more insights, more quality. I would say it's not about quantity necessarily; it's about quality interactions, and think about those that you can influence, and give them a piece of your story with Kin, basically, because we need to raise the brand awareness of Kin in the marketplace. Unfortunately, the SEC situation sidetracked that story for a while, and now that is totally behind us, I think that Kin has to be top of mind again. What has changed as well is that now there are close to 8,000 tokens. When Kin started, there were maybe 1,200, 1,400 tokens, still a big number, but there are 8 times more tokens today, which means there is 20 times more noise. So we have to work harder to rise above the noise level. And unfortunately, right now, the audience out there, whether they are speculators or users or developers, are not very discriminatory in terms of trying to see the quality from the non-quality. There's a lot of shouting on Twitter, a lot of shouting on social media, but at the end of the day, the quality projects are going to be the ones that will stay longer. So I would caution. I would like to see more quality, basically, because Kin has the quality. Kin is a quality project, and we're not just shouting about it with no activity behind it. It's the opposite. We have a lot of activity, but we're not punching above our weight in terms of gaining the brand awareness that we deserve.
Fair enough. Yeah, absolutely. And I have a couple of questions on that, William. I know that's been an important focus for the Kin Foundation to focus on bringing new apps into the ecosystem. One of our community members wanted to know, is there a way to test the Solana network at scale to demonstrate to larger apps that Kin is the best app currency to use and give it a great user experience? Maybe try before you guys type.
Yeah, I saw that question. I don't know how to answer that. Yeah, did it test what the speed?
The Solana network in general at scale. for these larger apps that may have 300 million users come on board?
Yeah. I haven't seen. I mean, I haven't thought about it. I mean, I haven't seen that. I mean, I don't think that is the stumbling block right now. We haven't encountered someone that said, I don't believe I can come in because I have 300 million or whatever. I mean, I don't think that's an issue right now. I mean, Solana is doing well with the ecosystem that that's coming to it as it is, and I haven't heard of any issues there. So we are substantial, I think, from a transaction point of view. I mean, we suspect we are the second or third largest in terms of just per day. That's why I was very curious to find out I wanted to know what percentage of the Solana number of transactions do we do that's can occupy, and I'd like. We're going to find out. We're going to find out. We're just not going to sit there and think that's what it is. Mind you, the number of the dollar value behind these transactions is small, so we're not going to be at the of what like Star is doing in terms of exchanges, types of transactions, and trading. You know, we still play in the micro-transaction world, but nothing wrong with the micro-transaction. If you add up these transactions, micro-trade can add up to a lot of fraud. The thing is all based on micro-transactions. All the royalties that artists get, it's all clear and cents there. The whole industry adds up to billions of dollars. So nothing wrong with microtransactions because you make it up on volume. So that's kind of what I wanted to say about this answer, and sorry to take it to 10.
Another question from a Kin community member is, what are your thoughts on exploring the Asian market as a whole? Obviously, we're waiting for exchanges for US, but on an Asian market, exchanges, development, all that type
Definitely.
of thing.
I mean, that's big focus. I mean, today I have to call our Asia-related, and as I mentioned in the update, we've hired somebody who is based in Asia right now. And that person comes with previous relationships in the Asian market, including Japan, Singapore, China, Korea, obviously as the big markets out there. So we're very focused, and you'll see some new things coming up from there. Definitely, 100% focused on it.
Very good. Another question, any efforts to get into the NFT space for Kin? Any marketing efforts in the pipeline?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely. I mean, the subject of NFT comes back every day. We talk about it. Kevin specifically has been a big proponent of moving us forward towards the NFT space. And as you know, one of the app's creatures is doing a good job there. We'd like to see more, obviously, but we see ourselves as being agnostic, really, to what happens to the NFT space. Obviously, first of all, tied into the Solana ecosystem initially. So whatever Solana does and all the tools that happen around Solana, like Metaplex, and we had a call with Metaplex actually, and many of the apps have plans, have NFT plans. Currency, I mean, we want to be agnostic, want to go to wherever NFT goes. We're not an NFT company. We're not like we're not an NFT or anything like that. We're a cryptocurrency that can find itself into many different use cases that are NFT related. So we're just going to follow the market basically, and be opportunistic and be there.
Very good. I've got a couple more questions. I'm actually having a lot of questions come through on our chat as we're speaking. It's trying to keep up with everybody. So near future, what do you think is the biggest challenge ahead, either technical or non-technical for the kin community? And someone says many coins these days claim to have anti-whale logarithm. How does the kin community deal with whales, and has there been any whale events in the past? But I think they're probably saying.
Okay, so that is two parts of that.
That's a twofold question, really.
Yeah. The whale question. I mean, honestly, I don't follow whales, kin whales, I mean, this is like about market movements and what happens there. I'm not focused on that. I don't know. I don't know who the kin whales are. I don't follow whale wallets, and we don't follow whale wallets at the Kin Foundation. Once in a while, I think some kin OGs would say, "Oh, this wallet moved this," and so on. I'm not sure that is an issue right now. Now, in the near future, I'm going to be focused a bit more on talking to some of the funds, some of the big funds, to encourage them to support kin from a long-term perspective, and then we'll have some relationship with them. We know of two large holders of kin still, but I don't keep in touch with them on a daily basis. But I have touched base with them, and they are confident that we're doing the right thing, and they are holding their kin as far as they've told me. But on a day-to-day basis, I am not looking at what whales do. Now, the second part of the question. Did you want me to answer the? Okay, go ahead.
Well, I was actually just gonna follow up if I could, just with one other, because I know there's certain community members that have these concerns, and if it's okay to address them here. With KIC Incorporated, they have their 3 trillion. I think some community members are worried that that's going to be dropped on the market. I mean, is there any solution that's being built together to stop that from happening or stop that from affecting the market at all?
Okay, that's a good question. And first of all, I would say that we the Kin Foundation, do not control this 3 trillion, obviously, but we talked to them, obviously, and one thing we agreed on, which is I think quite important. I think it was mentioned in the post that Ted put out on Reddit about maybe a month ago or so, in early July. One thing we agreed on is that they will do nothing to harm the ecosystem. So that's very important. That in a way answers the question that some members have. So obviously that means, in other words, they didn't say it, but I'm saying it. That means that they're not going to dump it. I mean, it wouldn't make sense. I mean, if they are part of the whole, they're not going to do anything that's going to harm the ecosystem. So all I can tell you is I know they are evaluating a number of options as to what to do with those 3 trillion. And one of these options is actually doing nothing. Doing nothing and holding them is one of the options. And it's the one that's currently being done, which is a good thing as well. So I wouldn't worry too much about what's going to happen there. To remember is that we agreed, at least they gave me their word that they're going to harm the ecosystem.
Sorry, William. Quick follow-on. I actually saw in a recent infographic that Galaxy Digital, along with Pantera Capital, was listed logos on and an infographic. Is there any comment you can make on how Galaxy Digital's logo got on there and what their involvement is with the project? Because Pantera was there from the early days, I believe.
Okay, I mean, I can tell you what I know because I wasn't part of the initial sale, and that initial sale was with KIC. Cake did the initial sale. I came later. I know that Galaxy is a big holder, and I had a call with them, and that's it. That's all I can say. I think the rest is up to them.
Go for it, Tim. Any more community questions? Thanks, William.
Yeah, I didn't know if we just want to change subject a little bit. I know right now, William, this is a concern of many in the community to the point where a couple of our advocates have put a petition together where people are signing because there are certain exchanges, be it Bitthumb Global, BTC, CoinTiger, which were supposed to be going through with the migration, and obviously we know the Kin Foundation has worked very hard from their side. What is it that they have left to do, and why, I guess, is it taking so long, and are there any updates in with that?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a very vexing situation for us as well. And it's not just tied into us. I think some of it has to do with their support of soleil and the SPL infrastructure. So in most other cases, in the case where the exchange kind of had their act together with SPL and specifically, then there were no issues with the migration. Unfortunately, not all exchanges are support SPL from the get-go. It's a hurdle. Even some of the big exchanges that you'd be surprised do not support any SPL token yet because they are more of a newcomer into the space on a relative basis. So that's a part of the problem. The other part is that I mean, some of these exchanges, I know. I mean, they are not straight with us in some cases. In some other cases, they are strapped themselves on the infrastructure piece, and one of them doesn't seem to care, unfortunately. Despite our trying, and we even offered monetary help to one of them, and they say that's not the issue, it's something else. And not leaving one stone unturned there. One of them, their whole team has left. There's a big lot of turnover in some of the exchanges, and one of the previous members is offering now to put us in touch with the new team. So it has been difficult for us to also get to the end of it. So it is not from a lack of trying, not from a lack of being a lot of pressure. So anything that the community can keep doing on the outside, I think doesn't hurt. It puts pressure on them if they care for what the market thinks of them. But if some of them don't care, then they are going to be a bit more not affected by it, unfortunately. But we're not giving up. We're not giving up because funds are there, and eventually to a good ending, it has to.
Is there a date or anything that's been set with them to not necessarily an ultimatum, but it has to be finished by X amount of date?
I wish they tried many times, right, to pin them down, but they haven't been able to pin down. That's the issue. And even there was dates, and the dates slipped. One of them was February, and where are we now? In August. So their dates, some of them, the words, the dates do not mean much, unfortunately. So we're very disappointed, but we're not giving up.
All right, very good. I'm sure that's good for the community to hear in that respect, and I know neither they are as well. I know they're actively posting with Wendy daily and talking inside some of the exchange groups to be like, hey, what's going on? So keep it up, community. You're doing the right thing. Josh, back to you a moment.
Definitely. That helps. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. That helps.
Okay, more questions from the community here. Let's see. Sorry, Tim, I've seemed to have lost my spot on the chat. So if you got one ready to go, just ask it.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. William, where do you see kin within a year from now?
$100 apps, 10 million daily transactions per day, and 10 million active users per month, and more brand awareness overall. That's what I see kin a year from now, and that's what we're all working toward. I want to increase the brand, increase awareness of kin out there, and back it up with the apps, the users. It's all about that, really. And that's what the whole team is focused on, and that's what the whole ecosystem should be focused on.
And obviously advocates helping you in the process, which then brings me to another question. Does it make sense for kin to hire people like you and I, or myself, or Josh, as kin advocates with sale experience, and provide them with qualified leads on people that may have an interest in developing with cryptocurrency and with kin, essentially working as kin ambassadors?
Well, yeah, I mean, not stopping anyone from talking about kin to anyone that you know. It's the stop block is not about hiring. We're not going to hire people to just go and talk to the big brands. So if you're an advocate and you have contacts, bring them to us. There is no shortage of time. We've had talks with two big companies the last 2 weeks, I would say. And we're talking to them. And if you bring us 1 or 2 or 10 next week, we'll find the time to talk with them. But that's not the issue right now. And one of them told me that the reason why they came to us is that they see us as a project that doesn't just say anything. We don't say anything. We're very measured about what we say, and we do what we say. So they see us as a more serious project, and that's why they were attracted to us. And we want to have that reputation. We're not we don't overpromise. We deliver, and then when we talk about things, it means we have it, and that's one of the big features of kin. And yeah, so that's really it. Now, when we raise our brand awareness, then big companies will hear about us, will read about us. And actually, one of the we're just kicking that off as we speak. As we've been asked by these two companies we were talking to, they said, "Do you have something you can give us that we can pass around to our executives so they can understand what the kin opportunity is?" And we looked around, we didn't have that. We have a bunch of slides, we have the old white paper, we had the transparency report, we have some good blog posts, but we don't have one document that is for executives. So I'm looking to hire right now a writer. We're going to hire a writer, and then within 3-4 weeks we're going to have that document, and it'll be a public document. It'll be, hey, executive got to the kin, read this, and that, pass it around to everybody. So I'm in the process right now of finding a writer that can write to the executive audience. We're going to get them a bunch of documents of content, and they're going to put pieces together, and we're going to have this document that you can pass around.
I have maybe a follow-on question to that. What about like mobile development agencies and development shops? Have you guys talked to like mobile dev shops? So maybe it's not the apps themselves that are learning about it, it's the agencies that are learning about it.
No, we have, but it's a good angle. I just made a note of it, and we will talk about it. Yes.
Love it.
Sorry, Josh.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions around just the regulatory side. Obviously, I think it's pretty obvious that regulators around the world are starting to really get involved in crypto, just generally speaking. What kind of, if you can just give some clarity on, where Kin is at from a regulatory standpoint for those that are new and joining the ecosystem, and just how you see that whole piece.
Yeah, I mean, so regulation and exchange, but no matter what you say, you can say something that might get you in trouble, because the nuances are important, and the clarity is not there, no matter who you ask, and you think you might be in one way, in one area, but not in another area. So there are lots of nuances that are important. What we can say is that Kin, the focus of Kin is to be and is a cryptocurrency. It is a cryptocurrency with a variety of utility. It is a utilitarian cryptocurrency that is a program that has a lot of programmable features. And that's what it is, basically. And that's what we're focused on, is to increase the within a variety of use cases. And at the end of the day, Kin is a cryptocurrency that is programmable. And that's really what it is.
Thank you for that comment. For those who aren't maybe close to the U.S. and what's gone on, the latest infrastructure bill was trying to be forced through the Senate a few weeks ago, and the crypto industry rose up and called senators. They tweeted at them. There was a huge pushback from consumers and voters of basically, hey, you're going to push this thing through. You don't understand the space. We need proper regulation. It's about time. It's been 6 years. So there's a lot of political pressure right now, and even Ted Cruz, who you can say what you want about him, but he got up and said, look, we shouldn't regulate this if we don't understand it. And so for those watching, there's a lot of political pressure right now to get good regulation through, which I think is really interesting. And William might not say it, but I wanted everyone to know that that's kind of the vibe in, in the Senate right now. That was more of a statement than anything. But Tim, do you have another question teed up?
I do, actually, and I want to kind of go back to the question that I asked William earlier, and we kind of branched off a little bit, but we were talking about within the near future, what are the biggest challenges ahead for Kin and the community? I was just wondering if we could maybe touch back on that again.
Yeah, I think I may have touched on it, but again, I want to stress that point, is that a lot of noise now in the market. So our most immediate opportunity and challenge is to rise above that noise level and to increase the brand awareness. In some of my interactions with some parties, especially as there's lots of turnover, a lot of people are new into this industry. Everybody has been around since 2017, so even less from even earlier, and there's a lot of attention being directed to the tokens that are making the news, basically. And I'm not going to name them, but there's a lot of hype right now. There are lots of founders that are shouting about their project, and that say anything, that even talk about the price of their token. I don't even know how they can get away with it. I will never do that. All I'm focused on is to getting developers to use Kin and to increasing the number of users for those apps that are using Kin, and that's really our mission. That said, I know we have a challenge to become more known again. We have to retell the kin story, I feel, and we are doing that. We have some aggressive outreach initiatives in the media, and hopefully you'll start to see some stories about kin in the media in the next, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks. And we have to retell the story, basically. And we have to be top of mind again, because we have a lot of good things going for us. And then what's going to follow is that we want more developers, more users, more creative users, because it's there. We have it. We have so many SDK choices. We have so many infrastructure choices, and it's just there for the taking. And it's easy to use. Anyone can go and join the testnet. It doesn't cost anything to play with the SDKs and start to do something. We've made it so simple. It can take just a handful of calls to create an account, to check a balance, to incorporate kin into a specific use case. And that's really our challenge is to get more developers to do that.
There's a lot of questions around liquidity, which you can't directly speak on. And in your posts, you mentioned for regulatory reason you can't speak on. So if anyone's wondering why we can't talk about that specifically. However, you did mention a buy module there. Is that something that you can speak on?
Definitely, I can talk about that. Yeah,
yes, please.
Because this is related. Yeah, I like that question because we are trying to increase the liquidity choices. Obviously, that's an important aspect. But part of that, which is a very important aspect, is the best proof of an in-app economy working. Of course, back to basics, back to the principles, like the first principles of kin, is to enable an earn and spend environment, all right, within a given app, or then within a given ecosystem, obviously. And with our grants, we are not shy of bootstrapping those experiences, meaning that it's the equivalent of airdrops, but it's an airdrop with purpose. So a lot of our grants, we did talk about grants initially, but our grants are in some part oriented towards bootstrapping these experiences, where basically the developers can deposit a certain number of kin into the wallets of these users so that they can start to experience how to use kin. But then the ultimate test is when a user now has to go and buy kin to do more with it. And that's why I said it's tied into the success of the in-app economy, is because I want users to put out their credit card and say, oh, I need to buy $10 more of kin or $50 more of kin because it's useful to me because I'm doing this and this and that. It's like in the gaming industry, I don't know if you play any game, backgammon or whatever, it give you a few points to start with, and then if you're winning all the time, you don't need to buy more. But at some point in time, you realize you like the game, you're playing with, and then you start to buy more tokens because you like what you're doing. And I want us to get to that point where there is demand, market demand, from users buying kin. And that's the ultimate test, is when users start to buy kin outside of the app where they're spending it.
How are those conversations when you're talking to payment processors for that? Like, obviously, like Google Play has a payment system, but just generally speaking, like, how does that work? Does it happen through Google's system, or is it going to have to happen outside of Google's system, and then the kin is moved to a wallet that's on the app? Like, how do you see that playing out from a user experience standpoint?
We're taking it a step at a time. So initially, we announced that we're now I think halfway through the Simplex integration. And Simplex is going to be mostly for the website, for the KIN website. There will be a drop-down or a button somewhere where you can buy, I think the minimum is going to be $50. You can buy KIN that way. The second one is with Wire. Wire is a bit different, and Wire, but there's going to be an opportunity for the apps themselves to integrate Wire inside their app. But again, it's not going to be it's not going to be straightforward. I mean, there's going to be some work done. There's a bit of integration done, and then thirdly, I want to talk to others like MoonPay. I'm interested in MoonPay. Just got an introduction actually yesterday, and I want to see what MoonPay can do for us as well. So it will be via those types of buy modules basically, and then we'll see where it goes until we have at least 2 or 3 of those implemented.
The question that I had, William, from one of our community members was that any plans on adding more staking options? That seems to be very popular. And also, would you consider including exchanges in the KRE from a staking perspective?
Yes. So the first question the second question was about the exchanges. Got distracted for a second. What was the first question again?
So any plans to add more staking options right now, and would you consider including exchanges in the KRE from the staking perspective?
Yes. Staking. Let's take that. It's 2 questions really. So we did 2 staking programs, as you know, one with Radium, and recently one with BitTrue inside of their exchange. We're not ruling out more staking, but staking, somebody has to pay for the staking rewards. So these are not cheap. So we have to think about the reason why we would do it. It could accompany a particular event or some promotion online. Very intrigued about aspect definitely, but it comes at a cost. So we have to balance this opportunity by thinking every time. I mean, does it make sense to spend that 15, whatever the reward is, the annual yield, and for what amount? I mean, it has to be there has to be a maximum. Like there has to be a specific amount that we can agree that it could be staking for. But we're definitely interested, yes. And the question about whether exchanges will be joining the KRE, I mean, I don't think so, because that's not part of the model. The KRE, you have to use the SDK. You have to use the SDK, and we have to approve it, obviously. But I mean, exchanges are not part of the model that fits KIN is using the SDK first and foremost, and creating use cases.
Any other questions? Drop them in the chat. Now's a really good time to ask a quick question that hasn't been answered.
And there's one here, actually, someone had just messaged to me, and I know we've had this conversation in the chat about being decentralized, centralized. I don't think it's black and white. I think there's a gray area that defines whether you're centralized or decentralized. But is the KIN Foundation working towards greater decentralization?
Definitely. That's always top of mind for us. One of the projects I hinted at in the roadmap is to expand, to do something different with the KIN Community Council and the KIN representatives, and we're going to be talking more about that. and having more community and more decentralization pieces, definitely. I mean, we don't see ourselves at the center necessarily. We see ourselves as one of the many players in the ecosystem. Catalyst, yes, we can be encouraging, driving things, but we want to have the whole ecosystem go forward all together. And I will admit that since I became chairman in November, I had to do a little bit more of re-centralization before we can do more re-decentralization. So I'll admit that we did a bit more centralization before we are more decentralization. So we had to get the house in order a bit, put some people and roles in place so we can support the decentralization. Because otherwise it would have been a mess. So we couldn't just go from where we were 6 months ago to just say, hey, just keep it decentralized. The Kennedy Foundation is nothing. That would have been a mess. So I'm more in favor of a little bit more measured decentralization, gradually, but certainly.
Question on any open hires that you need to fill. You mentioned a few earlier in the blog post, but a little pitch to them.
Yeah, we're still looking for a back-end developer, and that's a key position because that's where the Agora is. So we're looking for somebody with Go experience, and that job description is posted. I'm thinking about maybe we might need a product manager at some point in time to just put a bit more discipline into how we evolve the SDKs and how we think about these projects. Right now, we're all we put the product manager hat here and there when we think of new ideas. But these are the two main ones that come to mind. And we're very nimble. I mean, if we see a need, we'll make adjustments. Think about it. Not too long ago, I keep saying that it was just Kevin and I, more or less, and Matt on the board. And now we're 9, going on 10, maybe 11.
If I could ask, who are the current board members for the King Foundation, William?
Currently, it's Ted, Matt, and I. And again, we're looking to expand that in the roadmap. And I'd love to have 1 or 2 women on the board specifically. And we're looking with leads. But if you know anyone that could contribute and has the background and has the skills and the experience to help us, please email me.
Really quick, sorry, Tim. There's a question around Media Labs and Kik. They rolled out like a live stream feature and are using like diamonds in it. I don't know if there's any comment you can make on Kik specifically and Media Labs and where they're at.
I can tell you we had a call with them on Friday, very good call, and very promising for them to do more. We realize they may have not exploited Kin to the max, but they are very open-minded, and we had a very encouraging call. And Kevin following up, stay tuned.
And I think even further to that, real quick, we saw Matt or the forum company come back. Oh my gosh, I'm freezing right now. But just old apps coming back to the ecosystem, reintegrating. Tapatalk, yeah.
Tapatalk, definitely. Very excited to see Tapatalk come back, and definitely that's another. Proof point that Ken is coming back and Ken is going to grow again.
300 million users.
Definitely. I mean, we love that. We love that.
Tim, did you have one last question, maybe?
I do actually. Tony just messaged me from the Kim Show. What are your thoughts on allowing wallets like Phantom, Soleil, Trust Wallet into the KRE?
Again, that ties into the other question. I mean, they don't fit the mainstream model. I mean, you have to use the SDK. You have to use one of the Kin SDKs to be part of the KRE, and you have to be focused on Kin. I mean, you can't just be a wallet that has 100 other currencies and Kin is one of them. So what does it do? Not much. You have to use the SDK one way or the other.
This ecosystem for a long time. How's he doing? Like, what kind of tidbits of information can you share on code and what to look forward there?
I mean, we don't have insights as to what code is doing, because code now, like any other app, they are one app in the ecosystem. So we know that they are a very capable team, obviously, given the history, and they are no strangers to what needs to be done. But all I can say, we have a lot of hopes for code, as we have a lot of hopes for any other app to become big in their own rights. So if code becomes a big part of the ecosystem, it's great. It's great for the ecosystem. But they are going to have to compete with others. Code is just now like any other app. They have a good team, obviously.